My mom, Sarah, passed away 2 years ago. Breast cancer. It was brutal, and honestly, I still haven't fully processed it. She was everything. My rock, my best friend. And she had this dress, her wedding dress, a vintage lace thing that fit her perfectly. Beautiful, classic, the kind that makes you tear up just looking at it. She always said she wanted me to wear it on my wedding day. Always. It was the dress. Now my brother Liam is getting married to Bethany. Bethany's fine. She's nice enough, I guess. A bit bland, maybe? Definitely not someone I pictured my brother with. But hey, he's happy, right? Or so I thought. Then comes the bomb. Last week, at what Bethany sweetly called a bridal brunch, she drops it like it's nothing, casual as you like, sipping her mimosa. "Oh, Sarah, I was thinking, could I possibly borrow your mom's wedding dress?" My world went silent. The clinking of glasses, the chatter about flower arrangements, it all faded into this muted hum. I stared at her, blinking. I think my brain actually short-circuited. "Excuse me?" I managed, my voice barely a whisper. "Your mom's dress? The wedding dress? It's just so gorgeous. And I've always loved vintage. I think it would be perfect." She beamed at me, completely oblivious to the thunderclouds gathering in my eyes. "Perfect? Perfect?" Inside my head, the screaming started. "Are you kidding me? That dress is sacred. It's practically a part of my mother's soul." But out loud, all I could manage was, I don't think so, Bethany." "Oh, come on! Why not?" "It's just sitting in your closet, isn't it? It's not like your mom needs it anymore." "Okay." That was it. That was the line. The room went even more silent. You could hear a pin drop. I felt the blood rushing to my face. "Bethany," I said, my voice dangerously low, "that dress is not just sitting in my closet. It's a memory. It's a piece of my mother. And, frankly, it's incredibly disrespectful to even suggest you wear it. Especially after what happened." Her face crumpled. "I didn't mean." "Yes, you did. You knew exactly what you were saying." Liam, who had been strangely silent this whole time, finally spoke up. "Sarah, don't you think you're being a little dramatic? It's just a dress." "Just a dress?" I wanted to scream. I wanted to flip the table. I wanted to strangle them both with a string of pearls. Instead, I stood up, grabbed my purse, and walked out. Slammed the door for good measure. I haven't spoken to either of them since. Am I overreacting? Tell me I'm not overreacting. My own brother thinks I'm being dramatic. It's been a week of cold silence, punctuated by increasingly passive-aggressive texts from my Aunt Bethany's mother and my grandmother who, surprise, surprise, is siding with Liam and Bethany. Apparently, I'm ruining their special day and being selfish and holding on to the past. Seriously? I feel like I'm going crazy. I keep replaying the conversation in my head, wondering if I could have handled it differently. Maybe if I'd been calmer, more rational. But the sheer audacity of Bethany's request still makes my blood boil. My phone rings. It's my grandmother. I almost don't answer, but I know she won't stop calling. "Sarah, darling, I'm so disappointed in you," she says, her voice dripping with disappointment. "Bethany is a lovely girl, and you're making this so difficult for everyone." "Difficult for everyone?" "Grandma, she asked to wear my dead mother's wedding dress. How am I the one making it difficult? It's just a dress, Sarah. And your mother would have wanted Bethany to be happy. That's it. That's the argument they all keep using. Your mother would have wanted, blah, blah, blah. They have no idea what my mother would have wanted. They barely knew her. You can't speak for my mother," I snap. "You didn't even visit her in the hospital that often." The line goes silent for a moment. Then my grandmother says something that stops me cold. "Actually, dear, about that dress." My heart pounds in my chest. "Here we go." "Your mother, she actually wanted Bethany to have it." "What? What are you talking about?" I ask, my voice trembling. Before she passed, your mother told me she admired Bethany's style and thought she would look beautiful in the dress. She said she wanted Bethany to have it if she ever got married to Liam. My legs feel like they're about to give way. I sink into a chair, the phone clattering against my ear. That's not possible, I stammer. She never said anything to me. She always told me I was supposed to wear it. Well, she changed her mind, dear. Sometimes people do that. The line goes dead. I sit there staring at the phone, the words echoing in my head. She wanted Bethany to have it. No! No way! My mother would never do that to me. Would she? I pull out my laptop, my hands shaking. I have to find something. Some evidence. Some proof that my grandmother is lying. I start digging through old emails, old photos, anything that might shed some light on this. Hours pass. The room gets dark. My eyes burn. Then I find it. An email. From my mother. Sent a few months before she died. To my grandmother. Subject, a small request. I click on it, my heart pounding. Dearest mother, it reads, I've been thinking a lot lately and I have a small request. If Liam and Bethany ever get married, I would love for Bethany to have my wedding dress. I know it might seem strange, but I truly think she would look stunning in it. And honestly, Sarah isn't really the vintage laces type, is she? I just want it to be loved and appreciated. Please don't tell Sarah about this just yet. I want her to focus on other things. Love you. The email swims before my eyes. I read it again. And again. It's true. My mother wanted Bethany to have the dress. I don't know what to feel. Betrayed? Confused? Heartbroken? All of the above? Why? Why would she do this? Why would she lie to me all those years? Why would she give my dream away to someone else? I feel like I don't even know my own mother anymore. Has anyone else ever had their entire reality just crumble like this? I feel like I'm standing on the edge of a cliff, and everything I thought I knew is falling into the abyss. What do I do now? I spent the entire night crying. Ugly, snotty crying. The kind that leaves you with a pounding headache and puffy eyes. I barely slept. The email haunted my dreams, morphing into a taunting, mocking voice. In the morning, I decided I needed answers. I needed to talk to someone who knew my mother, who might be able to shed some light on this whole mess. I decided to call my aunt, Carol, my mother's sister. We haven't always been close, but she was always honest, even brutally so. I figured she'd at least give me the unvarnished truth. She answered on the third ring, her voice sounding tired. Sarah? What's wrong? I hesitated, unsure of how to even begin. Aunt Carol, do you remember Mom's wedding dress? Of course I do. Beautiful thing. What about it? I took a deep breath. Grandma told me that Mom wanted Bethany to have it, that she told her before she died. There was a long silence on the other end. Then, Carol sighed. Well, that's complicated. Complicated? What does that mean? It means your grandmother is telling the truth. But not the whole truth. My heart leaped. What do you mean? What's the rest of the story? Carol hesitated again. Look, this is going to be hard to hear, but you deserve to know. Your mother. She wasn't always the easiest person to understand. She went on to explain that my mother, while loving, had always struggled with a deep-seated insecurity. She always felt like she wasn't good enough, that she wasn't worthy of love and happiness. And she projected those insecurities onto me, onto everyone around her. She loved you, Sarah, more than anything in the world. But she also resented you for being everything she wasn't, for being confident, successful, and happy. She saw herself in Bethany, in a way. Someone who needed her approval, someone she could control. The words hit me like a punch to the gut. My own mother, resentful of me. It felt impossible, yet somehow it made sense. Carol continued. She probably thought giving the dress to Bethany would somehow level the playing field, make things more fair in her mind. It was twisted, I know. but that's how she was. So, she lied to me all those years, I said, my voice trembling, about wanting me to wear the dress. About everything. Not exactly. She wanted you to wear it at first. But then she got sick, and I think the sickness changed her. Made her bitter, made her meaner. The pieces started to fall into place. My mother's mood swings, her passive-aggressive comments, the constant feeling that I was never quite good enough. It all made sense now. It was all rooted in this deep-seated resentment. But why didn't you tell me? I asked, tears streaming down my face. Because I didn't want to hurt you. I knew how much that dress meant to you. And I kept hoping she would change her mind. But she never did. So what do I do now? I asked, feeling completely lost. That's up to you, Sarah. But I think you need to let go of the dress. It's not worth the pain and the drama. Let Bethany have it. And try to remember your mother for the good things, for the love she did give you. Don't let this one thing define her. I hung up the phone, feeling even more confused than before. I had the truth, but it didn't make things any easier. In fact, it made them even harder. Days turned into weeks. I avoided Liam and Bethany, avoided my grandmother, avoided everyone involved in the wedding. I needed space to process everything I had learned. I spent hours journaling, trying to unpack my feelings about my mother, about the dress, about everything. It was painful, but it was also necessary. I started to see my mother in a new light, not as the perfect, idealized figure I had always imagined, but as a flawed, complex human being with her own struggles and insecurities. And I started to see myself in a new light, too, as someone who was worthy of love and happiness, regardless of what my mother thought. As someone who was strong enough to let go of the dress, to let go of the past, and to move forward. One evening, I received a text from Liam. It was short and simple. Can we talk? I hesitated, but I knew I couldn't avoid him forever. I agreed to meet him for coffee the next day. When I saw him, he looked tired and worn out. The wedding planning was clearly taking its toll. I'm sorry, Sarah, he said, his voice sincere. I didn't understand how much that dress meant to you. And I was wrong to dismiss your feelings. It's okay, Liam, I said. I understand. You were just trying to make Bethany happy. Yeah, but I should have thought about you too. About Mom. I was being selfish. He paused, then took a deep breath. Bethany wants to talk to you too. She feels terrible about all of this. I looked at him, surprised. Really? Yeah. She didn't realize how important the dress was to you. She just thought it was pretty. She's been reading your mom's blog and old letters to understand how much your mom meant to you. We talked for hours. About my mother, about the dress, about everything. It was cathartic. I finally felt like I could breathe again. The next day, I met with Bethany. She was nervous and apologetic. Sarah, I'm so sorry, she said, her eyes filled with tears. I had no idea how much that dress meant to you. I was so caught up in the wedding that I didn't think about anyone else's feelings. It's okay, Bethany, I said. I understand. I was being a little irrational too. No, you weren't. It was my fault. I shouldn't have asked. Your mom was such a special lady, and I understand now. She told me that she had decided not to wear the dress, that she wanted to find something that was completely her own, something that didn't have any baggage attached to it. I was relieved, but also a little sad. The dress had been such a symbol of my mother's love, but now it was just a reminder of her insecurities and her secrets. Then Bethany said something that surprised me. Sarah, I know this is a lot to ask, but would you mind if I still used some of your mom's jewelry? You know, for my wedding? I hesitated. It was another piece of my mother, another emotional attachment. But then I realized, what better way to honor my mother's memory than to share her love and her beauty with someone else. Of course, Bethany, I said, smiling. I'd love for you to wear it. The wedding day arrived. It was beautiful. Bethany looked stunning in her own dress. A simple, elegant gown that perfectly reflected her personality. She wore my mother's pearl necklace and earrings, and they sparkled in the sunlight. As I watched her walk down the aisle, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. I had finally let go of the dress, let go of the past, and let go of my mother's expectations. I realized that my mother's love wasn't defined by a dress or a piece of jewelry. It was defined by the memories we shared, by the lessons she taught me, and by the person she helped me become. And I realized that I didn't need a dress to feel connected to her. I carried her with me always in my heart. During the reception, Bethany came over to me, her eyes shining with happiness. "Thank you, Sarah," she said, "for everything. This is the happiest day of my life." I smiled. "You deserve it, Bethany." As I watched her dance with Liam, I thought about my mother. I imagined her looking down on us, smiling. Maybe she was finally at peace, too. Later that night, after the wedding was over and everyone had gone home, I went to my mother's grave. I stood there for a long time, just talking to her, telling her about the wedding, about Bethany, about everything that had happened. I told her that I loved her, even though she wasn't perfect, and I told her that I forgave her for everything. As I walked away from the grave, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. I was finally free, and I knew with absolute certainty that my mother would have wanted me to be happy, not because of a dress, but because of me. So that's my story. It's been a long, emotional journey, but I've finally come to terms with everything. I've learned a lot about myself, about my mother, and about the importance of letting go. And I've learned that sometimes the greatest act of love is not holding on, but letting go. Have you ever had to let go of something that was really important to you? How did you cope? I'd love to hear your stories. Because honestly, I'm still trying to figure it all out. A few weeks after the wedding, a package arrives at my door. No return address? I'm immediately suspicious. My anxiety spikes. I cautiously open it, my hands trembling. Inside, neatly folded and wrapped in tissue paper, is the dress. My mother's wedding dress. My heart sinks. I don't know why, but seeing it again after everything is almost more painful than the initial fight. It's like a physical embodiment of all the unresolved issues, the hidden resentments, the complicated love that defined my relationship with my mother. A note is tucked inside. Thought you might want this. Bethany. I stare at the dress, debating what to do. Should I just donate it? Burn it? Okay, maybe not burn it. That's a bit much, even for me. Should I try to sell it? The thought feels almost sacrilegious. I decide to call Carol. She's been my rock through all of this, the only person who truly understood what I was going through. Carol. Bethany sent the dress back. I say, my voice thick with emotion. "Oh, honey," she says, her voice filled with sympathy. "I'm so sorry. What are you going to do with it?" "I don't know," I admit. I can't even look at it without feeling a mix of anger, sadness, and guilt. "Why don't you come over? We can have some wine, talk it out, maybe figure out a plan." I agree, and a few hours later, I'm sitting in Carol's living room, the dress lying on her couch like a forgotten ghost. We talk for hours about my mother, about the dress, about everything. Carol suggests a few options: donating it to a museum, turning it into something new like a christening gown for future nieces or nephews, or even just storing it away for a few years until I'm ready to deal with it. As we're talking, the doorbell rings. Carol frowns. I'm not expecting anyone. She opens the door, and I hear a chorus of familiar voices. My grandmother, my Aunt Bethany's mom, and even a few of my cousins are standing on the doorstep, looking sheepish. "We're here for an intervention," my grandmother announces, her voice trembling slightly. My jaw drops. "An intervention? Seriously?" They troop into the living room, looking like they're about to face a firing squad. "Sarah, we're worried about you," my grandmother says, taking my hand. "You've been isolating yourself ever since the wedding, and we think you need help." "Help?" I scoff. "I don't need help. I just need some space. But you're still holding on to the past, my aunt says. You need to let go of your mother's dress and move on. It's not that simple, I retort. You don't understand what I've been through. Maybe we don't, my cousin says. But we're here for you. We want to help you, Carol steps in. All right, everyone, let's calm down. Sarah has been through a lot and she needs support, not judgment. We spend the next few hours talking, really talking. I finally tell them everything about my mother's insecurities, about the email, about the resentment I felt. They listen, really listen, without interrupting or judging. Slowly, I start to feel a sense of connection again, a sense of belonging. Maybe, just maybe, I'm not as alone as I thought I was. By the end of the night, we haven't solved all my problems, but we've made a start. We agree that I'll consider therapy just to help me process everything. And we decide to do something special with the dress, something that honors my mother's memory but also allows me to let go of the past. After the intervention, I spend a lot of time thinking about what to do with the dress. I consider all the options Carol suggested, but none of them feel quite right. Then, one day, I have an idea. I remember that my mother used to volunteer at a local women's shelter. She was passionate about helping women who were struggling to get back on their feet. I decide to donate the dress to the shelter. Not just donate it, but transform it. I contact a local seamstress who specializes in vintage clothing, and together, we come up with a plan to repurpose the dress into a collection of prom dresses for the girls at the shelter. The idea is perfect. It's a way to honor my mother's memory, to give back to the community, and to help young women feel beautiful and confident on their special night. The seamstress gets to work, carefully deconstructing the dress and transforming it into a collection of stunning prom dresses. Each dress is unique, but they all share the same vintage charm and elegance. A few months later, the dresses are finished. I go to the shelter to help the girls try them on. The looks on their faces are priceless. They feel like princesses, like they can conquer the world. As I watch them twirl and laugh in their new dresses, I feel a sense of closure. I've finally let go of the past, and I've turned something painful into something beautiful. My mother would have been proud. A few weeks later, I get a call from Liam and Bethany. They're back from their honeymoon, and they want to see me. I'm a little nervous, but I agree to meet them for dinner. When I see them, they look relaxed and happy. They tell me about their trip, about the amazing food and the beautiful scenery. Then, Bethany says, Sarah, we wanted to thank you for everything, for letting us be a part of your life, and for letting us honor your mother's memory. You're welcome, I say, smiling. I'm glad we were able to work things out. We spend the rest of the evening laughing and talking like nothing had ever happened. I realize that our relationship is stronger than ever, that we've weathered the storm and come out on the other side. As I drive home that night, I feel a sense of peace and contentment. I'm no longer haunted by the past. I'm finally ready to embrace the future. I start therapy, as I promised, and it helps me to process my grief and to develop healthier coping mechanisms. I reconnect with old friends, pursue new hobbies, and start to focus on my own happiness. Life isn't perfect, but it's good. And I know that my mother is watching over me, smiling. A year has passed since the wedding drama. Liam and Bethany are expecting their first child, a little girl. They've asked me to be the godmother. I'm overjoyed. I'm still single, but I'm dating. I've met someone special, someone who makes me laugh and who supports me unconditionally. I've learned a lot about myself in the past year. I've learned that I'm stronger than I thought I was. I've learned that it's okay to ask for help. And I've learned that even the most painful experiences can lead to growth and healing. I've also learned that family is complicated, that even the people who love you the most can hurt you sometimes. But that doesn't mean you should give up on them. It just means you need to learn to forgive and to let go. As for the dress, it's become a symbol of hope and healing for the girls at the shelter. Every year, they hold a prom dress giveaway, and the dresses made from my mother's wedding dress are the most popular. It's a fitting tribute to my mother, a woman who dedicated her life to helping others. I finally accepted that my mother wasn't perfect. She had her flaws, her insecurities, her secrets, but she also had a big heart, a kind soul, and a love for her family that burned brighter than anything else. And I know that she would have wanted me to be happy, not because of a dress, but because of me. So that's my story. It's been a long, emotional journey, but I'm finally at peace. I've learned to let go of the past, to embrace the present, and to look forward to the future. And I know that wherever my mother is, she's watching over me, smiling. Thanks for listening. Thanks for letting me share my story. It's been therapeutic in a weird way to put it all out there. Maybe someone else can relate. Maybe someone else going through something similar will find some comfort in my experience. And if you're struggling, just remember you're not alone. There is always hope, and there is always light at the end of the tunnel. So, yeah, that's it. I guess that's my update. I'm signing off now. Time to go live my life, drama-free hopefully. Wish me luck! And thanks again for everything. You guys are the best internet strangers a girl could ask for.